Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to talk to you today during office time with Michele Ruiz. If you've been following along week over week, you know that I've started this weekly little chat with many of you, and that lasts maybe about 8 to 10 minutes. At the most. And what I do is I share a lot of my entrepreneurial tips, especially as it pertains to scaling a business that is B2B focused. And today I want to share with you about closing the sale. I get a lot of questions actually in this area. And when you have a company such as the ones I've owned, which are companies that sell to other businesses and including federal agencies, so we do federal contracting in my companies. Closing the sale is very different than closing a sale, as an example, for a product or a device. And while there's a lot to learn about B2B sales and closing the sale, there's a couple things that I want to mention to you today, and that is in the process of closing a sale, you have to establish trust from the very beginning of the interaction with your potential client or customer. And when I say that, what I mean is it is important for you to remember that making the sale is not about you. It is for you personally and your financial well-being. But when you're making the sale with a client or a customer, and that includes the federal government, it's not about what's important to you. It's really about what's important to them. What is the value to them? What are the benefits to them? Two different things, by the way, and why it would be important for them to consider buying from your company. And I see this being a real challenge because that's a common mistake that I see a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when they have smaller businesses. And my tips and my program, Possibility Architect, is geared very specifically to women and minority entrepreneurs who are scaling their businesses past $1 million in annual revenue. And so what I see often, and it comes to me in questions that I'm asked, is there's this focus on why you should buy from my company. And so from that very first interaction, you want to establish trust. And the only way you can establish trust is by making sure that they understand that you have their goals, their objectives, their needs, their pain points in mind, and that you are tying together what you have to offer and the value of it and the benefits, what they will see as outcomes from working with you and buying from you to achieve or solve their objectives or their pain points. So that's issue number one. And by the way, I'm now into my third company, and I didn't know that at the beginning when I started my first company. I didn't have really any experience in sales. I was a former news anchor and a news reporter who had a great idea and raised investor funds and started a company, and I didn't know with that first company a lot about sales. And so I'm telling you these stories and giving you this advice from my own personal experience. So trust is really important. The second thing is you want to also spend time educating your potential client or customer about the value. And you want to do that in every interaction and reinforce that as well. And what I learned, especially early on with my first company, is that I didn't spend enough time understanding the trust factor, and I didn't understand the importance of the patience around education. And so I had a lot of frustration early on. And what I did was I hired sales professionals to help guide me and coach me. And then with that, I then have brought them on to coach and guide my sales professionals now in my current company, my third company. So there's that. The other thing I see often, and I see this in particular with women, and I think, don't quote me on this, it's not scientifically validated, but I think the challenge that I see in particular with women is because we are so relationship focused that often we don't come right out and ask for the commitment or ask for the sale because we're afraid of rejection. And you got to actually ask for the sale. You've got to set the intention and the expectation that the sale is going to happen from that very first interaction. And by the way, when I say first interaction, it could then evolve into, could be 3, 4, 6, 8, even 10 interactions, especially the more sophisticated what it is that you have to offer. So you want to make sure that you're setting the expectation as if the sale is going to happen. But then when the time comes and you've gone through the process of addressing all of the objections, and objections can come in many forms, and I'll talk about that at a future date. You then want to just come right out and ask for the sale. And there are various ways to do that. And by the way, again, back to my original comment, asking for the sale is not about what's important to you. Asking for the sale is about what is important to them. In other words, you have to believe in your core that what you are selling to that potential customer or government agency is going to be so impactful for them that it makes it easy then to ask for the sale. And there are various ways to do that. There's, what's known in the nomenclature, various closes to a sale. And so I talk about that in my Possibility Architect Masterclass and most importantly in my 8-week mentoring program. And I want to share with you, I started Possibility Architect because over the years I have been asked by individuals if I would mentor them. And I certainly know the value of mentorship and certainly know the value of business mentorship. But I've got fast scaling businesses and I was trying to figure out a way to say yes and help. And that's how I came up with this solution called Possibility Architect, which is my 8-week online mentoring program. So I would love it if you are focused on scaling your business past $1 million in annual revenue. And let me tell you why I mention that in annual revenue, because so many women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses, when I say so many, an overwhelming majority do not generate more than $1 million in annual revenue. It's astounding, and we need to change that. In most instances, it's not because business owners don't want to scale past $1 million in annual revenue. They need assistance, help, guidance, and other things to achieve that. But I've achieved that in my companies. So I would love, if that's where your focus is in scaling your B2B business over $1 million in annual revenue, I invite you to take a look at my free masterclass, possibilityarchitect.com. And by the way, it's named that because I'm a firm believer that you architect your own possibilities. And not only a firm believer, I'm actually proof of that. And then from there, I invite you to take a look at my 8-week online mentorship program that includes, by the way, live time with me to coach you and share my experience that I've gained over now 3 businesses and all the other types of educational programs that I've participated in that are very focused on executive leadership and management for high scaling companies. So I so love that you've joined me, and do make sure that you pose questions, whatever questions you have for me here in the comments section, and I will be answering those in the weeks to come. I hope you have a magnificent week ahead.